Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are watching 100 Her Story Shorts. So make sure to smash the like button, hit subscribe, and go subscribe to her story too. But please subscribe to me.
My milkshake splashed all over the Mona Lisa after someone pushed me from behind. Immediately, every alarm in the museum started going off. Security guards came from every direction and pinned me to the ground. Everyone in the museum pulled out their phones and started filming immediately. They pulled me up off the ground so that I could see what had happened. The most famous painting in the world was covered in thick chocolate milkshake. I could already see the paint start to bleed and the canvas crumble. Just then, an old woman broke down and started weeping over the ruined picture. Then the crowd started booing me. I was taken out of the gallery. Afterwards, I was handcuffed to a metal chair and interrogated in a back room. An investigator slammed his hand on the table and screamed at me, "Why did you do it? Are you some kind of protester or extremist or something?" I turned my head as he shouted, "Look, man, someone bumped me from behind and made me spill the shake. It was all an accident." He looked down his nose at me. "Well, it's about to be the most expensive accident of your life. We'll know just how expensive when the damage report gets back from the museum lab." I sat in that room for hours when suddenly the door opened. The investigator walked in calmly and sat down. "Well, it turns out we owe you an apology and possibly a reward." My mouth hung open. "What? Is this some kind of joke or mind game? I told you it was just an accident." The investigator uncuffed me and opened a case file on the desk. The damage report came back. The painting was ruined, but that's okay because it was a fake. And it turns out the person who bumped you in the first place was a thief, attempting to escape with the real Mona Lisa. If you hadn't spilled your shake, we never would have known. As for the thief, he was caught in the security lockdown when we apprehended you. He's going to jail for a long time. I walked out of the museum with a $10,000 reward and a whole new appreciation for art. My milkshake splashed all over the Mona Lisa after someone... I reached into the McDonald's bag to grab a fry, but that's when my little brother gasped and covered his mouth in shock. He pulled out a singular fry that was literally 2 feet long, and my jaw dropped looking at the size. His fingers trembled with excitement as he held it. "Mom, Mom, Mom, come see this fry." He banged his fists on the table, trying to get her to turn around and look at it, but that's when I grinned. I grabbed the giant fry out of his hand before she could turn around and shoved it straight into my mouth. My little brother's face completely crumpled, and he burst into tears as Mom turned around and asked why he was crying. I looked right at him and laughed. But then, 15 years later, I was eating Doritos when my eyes shot open. I pulled out a square Dorito the size of my head and instantly scrambled for my phone to take a picture. This was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. That's when my brother snatched the Dorito. He crammed the whole thing into his mouth, and as I stared at him in disbelief, he bit down loudly. "That's for the fry." I reached into the McDonald's bag to grab a fry, but that's when my little brother...
When playing games on PC,
Sorry.
I brought my bestie to New York Fashion Week and said, "We're going to model on the stage tonight." Sia laughed. "Girl, are you joking? We can't get in. We're literally broke." But I took her hand. "Look at all the outfits people are wearing." One of the models walked inside wearing a dress made out of bubble wrap and a traffic cone strapped to her head. I smiled ear to ear. "We're not buying our way in. We're dressing our way in," she gasped. "But if we get caught, our fashion school will kick us out." I smiled. "So let's make sure we don't get caught." We went to the nearby Walmart and spent the last of our $11 on the most random items we could find. We locked ourselves in the public bathroom to build our outfits, and I taped a pool noodle around my waist. "It's called fashion," she raised an eyebrow. "I don't know," but I was already tying a shower curtain around her neck to make a cape and sealed every seam with silver duct tape. And by the time we were done, we looked completely insane. I did the French gesture, "Beautiful," and even Sia clicked her fingers in a zigzag motion and exclaimed, "Honey, we are fabulous." But when we reached the door at New York Fashion Week, my heart was slamming so hard I could feel it in my teeth. "We're here to model." Sia nodded slowly, trying to seem mysterious. The guard tipped down his sunglasses to look up at us, and for a second, he didn't say anything. Then he pressed into his walkie-talkie, "Get the makeup artists here, now." A group of fashionistas grabbed us and led us inside to a woman in cat eye glasses. She grabbed the duct tape on my sleeve, the seaming, the personality. "So, chic, I need you both on my stage, now." She dragged us toward the lights, so I squared my shoulders and walked. Flashbulbs went off like gunfire, trying to capture 2 broke girls strutting a New York runway held together with duct tape. I looked into the crowd, and 3 rows back, I locked eyes with a teacher from our fashion school. She mouthed, "See me Monday." I blew her a kiss and kept walking. I brought my bestie to New York Fashion Week and said, "We're going to model." I was tired during my 8-hour flight and leaned my head against the window to sleep when suddenly a flight attendant tapped my shoulder and crossed her arms. "No leaning your head against the window. If you dirty it, that'll be a $10 fine for our cleaning crew." I laughed and told her that rule was stupid, then went back to leaning my head. I saw her face go red as she stormed away to get someone, but I didn't care until I heard a crack near my eye. My window cracked, and I didn't even have time to react before it completely dislodged and fell. Wind immediately filled the cabin, creating a vacuum that that started sucking my whole body out. Everyone screamed and my hands shook in fear as I gripped my armrests as hard as I could, but half my body was already out of the plane. The air at 30,000 feet hit my face, and it felt like searing hot metal was being pressed against my skin. I screamed, help, but only kept tipping further out and was certain I was dead. But then I felt someone grab my leg and trying to pull me in. That's when I heard a massive pop in my ear. I instantly screamed in agony because the sound wind had ruptured my left eardrum. I got pulled back inside the cabin, still clutching my ear with blood trickling from it. I looked up and saw the same flight attendant standing over me, and she was screaming, I told you not to lean your head out the window, but I could barely hear anything over the ringing in my ear. I ran to an empty seat and put an oxygen mask over my head pounding from the pain and my face still freezing over. We made an emergency landing as the cabin kept filling with air, but when I stood up to leave, the same flight attendant blocked the aisle. You cracked that window with your head, so that's a $200 repair fee. Pay it now. I looked at her carefully, then my eyes lit up. I pulled $200 from my wallet and pressed it into her palm, laughing so hard my ruptured ear throbbed. Of course. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed my lawyer because I was about to have the biggest payday of my life. I was tired during my 8-hour flight and leaned my head against the window to sleep when suddenly
Why does your story have
Everyone's
so
using
crazy story?
I handed a customer her latte. She took one sip, then threw the entire drink in my face. Are you trying to kill me? This has too much milk. I'm lactose intolerant. I smiled, trying to keep myself from throwing a drink back at her. No problem. I'll make you another one. But I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I looked at the clock. My manager was coming back from break in 5 minutes, and he hated this job more than I did. I was positive he'd do something, so I picked up a new cup and stalled. I moved as slow as I could. Then the woman leaned over the counter, yelling, hey, you're doing it wrong. She pointed, more caramel. I said more. I said, extra caramel is an extra 50-cent charge. She groaned. I'm already an unhappy customer. Do you want me to report you to the manager? I smiled because I knew he'd be here soon. But then she stepped behind the counter, snatched the bottle out, and squeezed an excessive amount. I did nothing because the more she did, the more my manager would see. She shoved the cup back at me. Now pour the milk right this time. I glanced at the clock, 2 minutes, so I poured in way more milk than needed, on purpose. She threw her hands up. Unbelievable. You want to kill me. I will have you fired and sent to jail. Wait until your manager hears about this, I said, trying not to smile. He'll be here any minute, ma'am. Don't worry. Then the door chimed. My manager walked in. She ran to him. Are you the manager? Your employee tried to poison me. My manager looked at the mess, then turned to me. I waited for him to back me up, but instead, he sighed. I'm so sorry, ma'am. Let me make the drink myself. My heart sank. He was taking her side. She smiled like she won. He made the drink and handed it to her. On the house, she took one sip, then she threw it right back in his face. Wrong! Too much milk! My manager stood there, milk dripping down his nose. Frick this job. He grabbed the milk jug and dumped the whole thing over her head. I grabbed the caramel and squeezed it all over her. Is this enough drizzle for you? She ran out the door, dripping milk and caramel. My manager threw his apron on the floor. I hate this damn job. I quit. I threw mine down next to it and walked out smiling. I handed a customer her latte. She took one sip, then threw the entire... While my daughter got ready for school, I noticed her hair was sticky. Haley, what's in your hair? Oh yeah, I used glue. Doesn't it look perfect? I reached out and touched it, and as soon as I did, my heart stopped. It made a crunch sound. Oh my god, you actually used glue? Yeah, Ms. Lepp told me and Shayla to put this Gorilla Glue in our hair. I was about to pass out. That stuff was impossible to unstick once it dried. I grabbed her arm and yanked her to the bathroom and turned on the shower to max heat. I knew we didn't have time and put her head under. Stop! The glue was starting to cement to her scalp now, meaning the slightest touch was painful. I was panicking. I didn't know what to do, so I immediately threw her in the car. I had to carry her into the emergency room, and as soon as everyone waiting saw her hair sticking straight up like she was from Whoville, they all gasped. She was screaming in pain, and they rushed to treat her. But as they took her to the doctor, all I could think about was how bad I wanted to rip Ms. Lepp to shreds. Who tells a 7-year-old to put Gorilla Glue in her effing hair? When the doctor saw Shayla's hair sticking up, his eyes went wide. Is this glue? Yes, there's Gorilla Glue in her hair, and I saw him instantly panic. We need to move her now. We need to sedate her. I watched them wheel Haley away, and that's when it hit me. Wait, she said, Shayla did this too. Oh my god. I called Shayla's mom from the hospital, and as soon as she picked up, I said, did you see Shayla's hair this morning? Did she put anything in it? But she was already crying. The school just called me and said I had to pick her up immediately. I don't know what's happening. And that's when I realized this was worse than we thought. I drove to the school, and just as I got there, I saw Ms. Lepp trying to get into her car. Ms. Lepp, you told Haley to put glue in her hair? She jumped back and said, she put what? Gorilla Glue? You told her to do it. But Ms. Lepp wasn't worried. She got defensive. I saw a girl on TikTok do that. Their hair is always so naughty I thought it'd be good for them. Besides, if she's too dumb to believe me, maybe you're a bad bad mother. I was seconds away from beach slapping her dumb face when we heard an ambulance. And when the front door to the school opened, my jaw dropped. I saw the school nurse walking out with Shayla and a few other girls, all of them crying and their hair perfectly solid and sticking up. Shayla's mom rushed in behind the ambulance, and when she ran up to her, she yelled, "Oh my God, my Shayla!" Ms. Lepp was backing up toward her car like she was about to run, but Shayla's mom was not letting her get away. She told my baby to glue her hair. 2 police officers ran at her, and before Ms. Lepp could start her car, they yanked her out and slammed her dumb face onto the concrete. They were all rushed to the hospital, and the doctors did everything they could, but no matter how many intense surgeries they performed, it was too late. They didn't die, but are now all balder than Caillou. While my daughter got ready for school, I noticed her hair was sticky. Haley, what?
Wait, guys. Rate that short. Like, dude, why would someone make a short as crazy as that? Why? Why? Sorry, I'm just raging because of her story shorts. Anyways, next her story short.
What's in your hair?
Oh my God, sorry.
What I found inside my wedding dress destroyed my life. Growing up, I didn't care if my dress had lace, sparkles, or a train. The only thing I really wanted was for it to have pockets. So when I found my dream dress, it felt like fate. Ivory silk, delicate cap sleeves, and yes, pockets. I cried in the dressing room. My fiance, Drew, always told me, "I don't know what I'd do without you." I spent over a year nursing his mother through chemo before she passed away. I even stayed after he got fired from his job, and he spent all day gaming to help himself cope with the loss. But when he proposed to me, every ache felt worth it. The morning of the wedding, I went to steam my dress when I felt something in the pocket. I pulled it out, expecting a sweet note from Drew. However, it was a sonogram, and scrawled on the back in hurried handwriting was, "You deserve to know. It's Drew's. Love, your sister." I put the photo on top of the dress and walked out. What I found inside my wedding dress destroyed my life. Growing up, I didn't care if my dress had lace, sparkle. My little sister woke me up scratching, and when I turned the light on, she was smiling down at the lice crawling through her hair. I instantly started gagging in disgust. I grabbed the lice comb off the dresser, and she threw both arms over her head like she was protecting something precious. "Stop. These are my friends." I shined my phone torch on her scalp. "Ellie, that's disgusting. We're combing them out tonight." She rolled over to face the wall. "Good night." But I stared at her in confusion because Ellie was the kind of kid who was scared of spider webs, so I couldn't understand why she wanted to keep a scalp full of bugs. I waited until she was asleep and started combing them out anyway, but she woke up and grabbed my wrist in the dark like I was stealing from her. I said no. The next day, I got an email from the school. "Lice has been reported in multiple classrooms. Please check your child's hair tonight." So when I went to pick up Ellie from school that day, I parked around the corner and got out of the car to spy on her and find out why she was so determined to keep her lice. Kids clumped by the gate and spilled off the steps, all except one corner where a girl sat alone against the fence. Ellie pulled her beanie off and pressed the side of her head against the girl's, grinding their hair together, giving herself the lice that the girl had. I immediately stormed over with my hands on my hips. "What is going on right now?" The girl shrank back, but Ellie didn't. "Her mom can't afford the lice medicine, and everyone calls her the lice girl." She shrugged like I was slow. "She's my friend, so I gave them to myself too. Otherwise, it's not fair." I kept my voice cold. "Both of you," I said. "In the car, now." I sat them on the edge of the tub at home. I did Katie's hair first and combed the whole bottle of lice medicine through her hair, the treatment her mom couldn't buy, and her eyes kept flicking up to mine in the mirror like no one had ever been this gentle with her. By the time both their heads were clean, the two of them were on the floor fighting over the good crayons, and nobody was the lice girl anymore. My little sister woke me up scratching, and when I turned the light—
Lice? Why do you want lice though? Like, is she a dumbo? Is she an idiot? Why would she want lice? Okay, you know what? Next video! This is like the 10th video.
If you're too slow and keep getting left behind by
My
your friends in
God.
+1 speed keyboard escape, this is
Alright.
I was home alone when I felt the front door burst open. I'm deaf, so I had to leave the living room and peek through the door to see who it was. It was Zoe and Jordan, the same two girls who held an air horn against my ear in 6th grade and laughed when I dropped to the floor and lost my hearing. I knew they were holding a knife because I could hear them dragging it against the wall. I backed into the kitchen to find my phone, but it was gone. They must have taken it. I sneaked upstairs as quietly as I could, but it's hard to tell if you're making a sound when you're deaf. I hid in my mom's room and watched shadows moving in the hall. Jordan held up a whiteboard so I could see it through the crack in the door. "We know you're up here." Then a second one. "We know you told our parents what we did. They took our phones for a month." Then Zoe's hand reached up holding her own. "Time for us to take something from you too." They started checking rooms and I knew they'd reach me in minutes. That's when I remembered that I wasn't completely defenseless because my mom is a hearing specialist who studies hearing loss. On her desk was a dangerous prototype, a directional sound emitter, an experimental device that could shoot a concentrated sound wave that was powerful enough to instantly burst a healthy eardrum. I started slamming my hands looking for it, and that's when the door handle turned. I found the device right at that moment and faced the door. Zoe and Jordan stepped in smiling with a knife. They lunged at me, but I pulled the trigger at max. I couldn't hear the sound that was being emitted, but I could feel it. The pressure hit their ears directly with the full force of a stadium speaker. Their eardrums burst on impact, fully deafening them on the spot. They dropped to the floor and screamed at a frequency I lost 6 years ago. I picked up Jordan's whiteboard, wiped it clean, and wrote, "Now we're even," and I walked out. I was home alone when I felt the front door burst open. I'm deaf, so I had to leave the living room and peek through the door to see who it was. It was Zoe and Jordan, the same two girls who held an air horn against my ear in 6th. A woman burst into my birthday dinner screaming, "Everyone stop eating!" I froze because my whole family was here for my birthday. My parents, my sister, even my grandma made the trip from out of state. My husband David booked this place months ago, a fancy Manhattan place. We were 3 courses in, and the plates were already empty. My grandmother made this horrible gurgling noise that didn't sound human. My mom rushed to her, but then froze. Something's wrong with me too. My sister knocked over her wine glass, pushing away from the table. Red spread across the white tablecloth. She was pale. My stomach, it's burning. My dad loosened his tie like he couldn't breathe, and the manager rushed over. "Let's not alarm the other guests." My mom threw up all over his shoes. My dad barely made it out of his chair before he dropped to his knees heaving, and there was something dark in it. The manager was sprinting toward the back. Paramedics crashed through the doors, but none of us could answer their questions. Our grandmother wasn't moving anymore. A paramedic was doing chest compressions. I turned to grab David, and he was just standing there, calm, still. He wasn't sick, and he wasn't even sweating. "David?" He blinked. "I'm calling 911, baby. It's okay." But his voice sounded like he practiced this, and the paramedics were already here. The kitchen woman grabbed a paramedic by the sleeve. "You need to pump their stomachs now. It's rat poison." I saw the box in the trash. She yelled across the room. "It wasn't an accident. Someone paid a cook to do this, and I know who." She pointed straight at David. "Him. He paid the cook $10,000 to put it in your food." I turned to him. "What is she talking about?" He just looked at me with this cold expression I'd never seen. I didn't have a choice. After he was arrested, we found out David owed $500,000 to dangerous people. If my family was gone, I'd inherit all the money. So he ordered for the whole table that night. A woman burst into my birthday dinner screaming, "Everyone stop eating!" I froze because my whole family was here for my birthday. My parents, my sister, even my grandma made the trip from out of state. My husband David booked this place months ago, a fancy Manhattan place. We were 3 courses in, and the plates were already empty. My grandmother made this horrible gurgling noise that didn't sound human. My mom rushed to her, but then froze. Something's wrong with me too. My sister knocked over her wine glass, pushing away from the table. Red spread across the white tablecloth. She was pale. My stomach, it's burning. My dad loosened his tie like he couldn't breathe, and the manager rushed over. "Let's not alarm the other guests." My mom threw up all over his shoes. My dad barely made it out of his chair before he dropped to his knees heaving, and there was something dark in it. The manager was sprinting toward the back. Paramedics crashed through the doors, but none of us could answer their questions. Our grandmother wasn't moving anymore. A paramedic was doing chest compressions. I turned to grab David, and he was just standing there, calm, still. He wasn't sick, and he wasn't even sweating. "David?" He blinked. "I'm calling 911, baby. It's okay." But his voice sounded like he practiced this, and the paramedics were already here. The kitchen woman grabbed a paramedic by the sleeve. "You need to pump their stomachs now. It's rat poison." I saw the box in the trash. She yelled across the room. "It wasn't an accident. Someone paid a cook to do this, and I know who." She pointed straight at David. "Him. He paid the cook $10,000 to put it in your food." I turned to him. "What is she talking about?" He just looked at me with this cold expression I'd never seen. I didn't have a choice. After he was arrested, we found out David owed $500,000 to dangerous people. If my family was gone, I'd inherit all the money. So he ordered for the whole table that night. A woman burst into my birthday dinner screaming, "Everyone stop eating!" I froze because my whole family was here for my birthday. My parents, my sister, even my grandma made the trip from out of state. My husband David booked this place months ago, a fancy Manhattan place. We were 3 courses in, and the plates were already empty. My grandmother made this horrible gurgling noise that didn't sound human. My mom rushed to her, but then froze. Something's wrong with me too. My sister knocked over her wine glass, pushing away from the table. Red spread across the white tablecloth. She was pale. My stomach, it's burning. My dad loosened his tie like he couldn't breathe, and the manager rushed over. "Let's not alarm the other guests." My mom threw up all over his shoes. My dad barely made it out of his chair before he dropped to his knees heaving, and there was something dark in it. The manager was sprinting toward the back. Paramedics crashed through the doors, but none of us could answer their questions. Our grandmother wasn't moving anymore. A paramedic was doing chest compressions. I turned to grab David, and he was just standing there, calm, still. He wasn't sick, and he wasn't even sweating. "David?" He blinked. "I'm calling 911, baby. It's okay." But his voice sounded like he practiced this, and the paramedics were already here. The kitchen woman grabbed a paramedic by the sleeve. "You need to pump their stomachs now. It's rat poison." I saw the box in the trash. She yelled across the room. "It wasn't an accident. Someone paid a cook to do this, and I know who." She pointed straight at David. "Him. He paid." A kid I'd never seen sprinted up my steps while I was on my porch and screamed that my house was about to blow up. "My dad's a gas engineer. I hear a leak. Let me in your house so I can fix it." My brain froze up. I didn't trust a strange kid coming into my house, but I couldn't risk it blowing up. I slowly said, "Okay," and opened my door. We walked in, and I immediately heard the quiet hissing sound he was talking about, then gasped in horror. "Where's your boiler room?" I pointed upstairs, and he immediately started climbing. I followed him, and my chest froze up as the hissing got louder. Every instinct told me not to follow a stranger deeper into into my own house, but I was too scared to stop now, so I kept climbing. He reached the top and rushed toward the boiler. Hurry, this thing is seconds from blowing. I ran after him, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it over the extremely loud hissing. He dropped down beside the boiler and grabbed a valve. This is it. He twisted hard and the hissing stopped immediately. The whole house went silent, and relief hit me so hard my legs nearly buckled. Oh my god, thank you. You saved my house. I dug into my purse to give him something, but he just waved his hand. It's all good. Just keep an eye on it and probably call someone to check it out. I nodded and thanked him as he jogged down the stairs. But then he dropped a piece of paper from his pocket before sprinting out. I picked it up with shaking hands and got ready to chase after him. But then I looked at the paper and my stomach dropped. There was never a leak. That hissing sound was a speaker in my pocket that I turned up as we climbed. You were so scared you left your door unlocked, so my friend let himself in while you watched me twist a useless valve. Maybe this will teach you not to trust strangers. My hand flew to my mouth and I spun around. My TV and my laptop were gone, and the jewelry box by the window had been cleared out while I stood one floor above thanking the robber. A kid I'd never seen sprinted up my steps while I was on my porch and screamed that my house was about to blow up. My dad's a gas engine. I caught my daughter leading 3 cows into our back garden at 2 a.m. I rubbed my eyes because I thought I was dreaming, but then 2 of her friends followed with a goat and a wagon of chickens. I immediately grabbed my robe and marched outside, but as soon as they saw me, they tried to cover every animal with blankets. My daughter stood in front of the farm animals with her arms wide open. Nothing to see here, Mom. One of the cows mooed under the blanket, but her friend Nora raised her hand. That was me. I like to moo sometimes. Moo! I scrunched up my face and grabbed my hair. What the hell is going on? My daughter grabbed my hands. Okay, Mom, I swear I'll explain everything. Just follow us. I needed to know what was going on, so I followed her and her friends down the street until we made it to a grassy path. At the end was a barn that looked torn apart and reeked of manure. Gizmo pointed at the beautiful house beside it. That's where the farmer sleeps. He's a light sleeper, so you have to be quiet. I nodded silently, and my daughter put her hands on the barn door and turned to me. Cover your face. Inside, dozens of cows were packed into stalls that were so small they could barely move. At the back were horses that looked like they hadn't eaten in days. Gizmo pleaded, "We found them weeks ago. Whoever the owner is doesn't care about them." Nora nodded. We called animal control twice. Nobody ever came. I stared at the horses' ribs and rolled up my sleeves. We're taking all of them, tonight. I knew we could get arrested for this, but I didn't care. We spent all night leading as many animals as we could to my back garden without waking the farmer, and by sunrise, my garden looked like a petting zoo. We sprayed the animals down with a hose, and they threw themselves back on their hind legs as if they were thanking us for freedom. My daughter and her friends started dancing with them when a truck screeched and the farmer climbed out, phone already in his hand. You think I can't follow hoof prints? Those animals are mine. He dialed 911. Police, I want to report a theft. I was ready to take full blame so my daughter and her friends wouldn't be arrested. The officer walked up to the animals and examined their sores and chain marks while the farmer pointed at us. They're thieves. Arrest them this instant. But the officer turned to him, handcuffs already in hand. Sir, why are your animals so underweight? He shrugged. They're my property. I keep them how I want. The officer put the farmer's wrists behind his back. He called the cops on us. They arrested him instead. The officer asked if we knew where the animals could stay, and my daughter grinned. They've got somewhere. I caught my daughter leading 3 cows into our back garden at 2 a.m. I rubbed my eyes because I thought I was dreaming, but then 2 of her friends followed with a goat and a wagon of chickens. I immediately grabbed my robe and marched outside, but as soon as they saw me, they tried to cover every animal with blankets. My daughter stood in front of the farm animals with her arms wide open. Nothing to see here, Mom. One of the cows mooed under the blanket, but her friend Nora raised her hand. That was me. I like to moo sometimes. Moo! I scrunched up my face and grabbed my hair. What the hell is going on? My daughter grabbed my hands. Okay, Mom, I swear I'll explain everything. Just follow us. I needed to know what was going on, so I followed her and her friends down the street until we made it to a grassy path. At the end was a barn that looked torn apart and reeked of manure. Gizmo pointed at the beautiful house beside it. That's where the farmer sleeps. He's a light sleeper, so you have to be quiet. I nodded silently, and my daughter put her hands on the barn door and turned to me. Cover your face. Inside, dozens of cows were packed into stalls that were so small they could barely move. At the back were horses that looked like they hadn't eaten in days. Gizmo pleaded, "We found them weeks ago. Whoever the owner is doesn't care about them." Nora nodded. We called animal control twice. Nobody ever came. I stared at the horses' ribs and rolled up my sleeves. We're taking all of them, tonight. I knew we could get arrested for this, but I didn't care. We spent all night leading as many animals as we could to my back garden without waking the farmer, and by sunrise, my garden looked like a petting zoo. We sprayed the animals down with a hose, and they threw themselves back on their hind legs as if they were thanking us for freedom. My daughter and her friends started dancing with them when a truck screeched and the farmer climbed out, phone already in his hand. You think I can't follow hoof prints? Those animals are mine. He dialed 911. Police, I want to report a theft. I was ready to take full blame so my daughter and her friends wouldn't be arrested. The officer walked up to the animals and examined their sores and chain marks while the farmer pointed at us. They're thieves. Arrest them this instant. But the officer turned to him, handcuffs already in hand. Sir, why are your animals so underweight? He shrugged. They're my property. I keep them how I want. The officer put the farmer's wrists behind his back. He called the cops on us. They arrested him instead. The officer asked if we knew where the animals could stay, and my daughter grinned. They've got somewhere. I caught my daughter leading 3 cows into our back garden at 2 a.m. I rubbed my eyes because I thought I was dreaming, but then 2 of her friends followed with a goat and a wagon of chickens. I immediately grabbed my robe and marched outside, but as soon as they saw me, they tried to cover every animal with blankets. My daughter stood in front of the farm animal.
Oh my god.
I boarded my first-class flight and sat in my assigned seat when a woman in a hoodie that said Army Wife stopped at my row with her husband, who was in full military uniform. "That's going to be my husband's seat." I told her it was my assigned seat, and she laughed. My husband just got back from an 8-month deployment, so he deserves to be more comfortable than some person who probably doesn't even pay taxes here. I hadn't seen my mother or my sisters since I moved to America from the Philippines 2 years ago and had been working 60-hour weeks just to afford this seat, so I wasn't moving. A flight attendant appeared and asked if I would consider moving. "Absolutely not." The woman threw her hands up. "My husband has killed people for this country, and this immigrant won't give up a stupid seat for him." Her husband touched her arm. "Babe, come on." She shook him off and put her finger in my face. "People like you come here, take our jobs, and sit in first class while actual heroes fly in the back like cattle." My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. "I worked 60-hour weeks to afford this trip, and I deserve to be here." She leaned in close. 60 hours doing what? Cleaning houses? Then the pilot appeared in the aisle. "What exactly is going on here?" The woman saw the captain and instantly switched to a sweet voice. "Captain, this woman is refusing to give her seat to my husband who just returned from serving overseas." The pilot looked at her. "Is this your assigned seat?" She blinked. "Well, no, but she should give it to us." The pilot pointed toward the back. "You've got 10 seconds to find your real seat or I will have you removed and banned permanently." She gasped. "My husband is a soldier." The pilot didn't even blink. 9, 8, 7. She grabbed her husband and dragged him toward economy screaming. A few rows started clapping and I heard her shriek one last time. "Oh, sure, clap for the immigrant. That's just perfect." I thanked the pilot, put my headphones in, and spent the next 14 hours thinking about my mother's face when she sees me finally walk through her door. I boarded my first-class flight and sat in my assigned seat when a car swerved around the corner going right at my son, so I shoved him out of the way and took the impact myself. But when I woke up in the hospital, I couldn't feel my legs, and my son wasn't next to me. I screamed, "Where is he? What's going on?" A doctor quickly told me I was paralyzed from the waist down, and that's when a woman in a suit dropped a stack of papers into my hands. "Your son is alive. I'm his foster agent. Due to your injury, we've deemed you unable to care for him, so we've placed him into a loving foster home." My chest went cold, and a sharp pain tore through me. "You can't do that." "We can." She smiled and pointed at the papers. "Here's everything to fill out to apply to reclaim your son." She walked out without even telling me where he was. I wheeled myself home 4 weeks later, and the house felt so empty without my boy, I started crying. But I pulled myself together and filled out every form, double-checking every requirement 10 times before clicking submit. But 2 minutes later, an automated AI rejection email came in. I cried, realizing I was never going to see my son again. 2 years later, I was rolling down the same street I got hit on, mourning the loss of my son, when something caught my eye. A little boy was curled on a corner, shielding himself from the rain. I immediately rolled over, and my whole body started shaking. It was my son. I tapped his shoulder and he lifted his head. "Mom?" He started crying. "Can you take me in? My foster family dropped me on this corner and drove off 3 days ago." My throat closed up as he continued. "I contacted my foster agent to take me back to you, but she said you were disabled and couldn't take care of me." My chest went hot and I couldn't sit there another second. I grabbed both armrests and pushed with everything I had. My legs shook, but my love for my son made me stand up from my chair for the first time in 2 years. I pulled him into me and sobbed. "I've got you now. Nobody's ever taking you again." When his agent rang my doorbell, I didn't even answer the door. A car swerved around the corner going right at my son, so I shoved him out of the way and took the impact myself. But when I woke up in the hospital, I couldn't feel my legs, and my son wasn't next to me.
Who should try modding?
The lunch lady dropped a tray of gray spaghetti in front of me. Gray meatballs sat in a puddle of orange grease. It was so disgusting, I couldn't take eating the cafeteria lunch anymore. Under the table, I opened up DoorDash and ordered orange chicken from the Panda Express. My friend beside me saw what I was doing and smiled. "You're right. I'd rather break the rules and be big back and order food from DoorDash than get food poisoning from this cafeteria." On her phone, I saw her ordering nacho fries from Taco Bell. Soon, every student in the cafeteria was secretly ordering food. No one cared about the rules anymore. A few minutes later, I walked to the front gate where the delivery driver was already waiting on the sidewalk through the bars, but the principal showed up out of nowhere, his arms folded while smiling. "You're the 4th student to try and do this week." He reached through the bars, took the bag right out of the driver's hand, and tore it open. He pulled open the box of chicken and started dropping them on the floor, one by one. He popped one into his mouth while looking right at me. "Cafeteria's still open, sweetheart. You know the rules. No outside food during school." Another driver pulled up with another bag for the kid behind me. The principal didn't even open it. He just stomped on it. Burger sauce sprayed across the concrete. The kid stared at the wet stain and didn't say anything. Kids drifted to the cafeteria windows, faces pressed against the glass, all watching to see what would happen next. My boyfriend told me to wear something nice to his cousin's engagement party, and I was convinced he was about to propose. We'd been together 3 years, and everyone kept telling me today was the day. Jordan was nervous the whole drive there, kept checking his phone, and asked me 3 times if my parents were definitely coming. When we walked in, both our families were already sitting together, and every one of them turned to me like they were waiting for something. I sat down next to him with my heart pounding and waited. Halfway through dinner, the DJ turned the music down, and Jordan stood up and tapped his champagne glass with a fork until the whole room went quiet. My mom reached over and grabbed my dad's hand while his sister pulled out her phone to film. He turned to me and said, "I have something important to say," then got down on one knee and pulled a small black velvet box from his jacket. My aunt was already crying 2 tables over, and my hands flew to my mouth because after 3 years, this was finally happening. He held the box up in front of everyone and opened it. Empty. He burst out laughing so hard he could barely stand. "It's a prank, babe. TikTok challenge. Look at your face." His sister zoomed in on me, and his cousin doubled over while I stood there with my hands still covering my mouth. My mom's face went from the happiest I'd ever seen her to completely horrified, and my dad's jaw was clenched so tight I could see it from across the room. Jordan kept waving the empty box around, showing people like it was a trophy. I put my hands down, said, "We're done," and the laughter stopped. I picked up my purse and walked straight out the door, and he followed me to the parking lot, still trying to tell me it was just a joke. I didn't turn around. 2 weeks later, Jordan knocked on my door, and when I opened it, he was standing there holding flowers and the same black velvet box. He said his sister posted the video, and it went viral, that he was going to propose for real that night but chickened out, and that he'd take it all down if I gave him another chance. I took the box from his hand and opened it. There was a ring inside. I closed it, put it back in his hands, and said, "The answer would have been yes 2 weeks ago." Then I closed the door. My boyfriend told me to wear something nice to his cousin's engagement party, and I was convinced.
If you're too slow and keep getting left behind by your friends in +1 speed keyboard escape, this is for you. The admin treadmill will boost your speed massively, so you can collect speed.
I handed the hotel concierge a note that read, "My boyfriend is planning on killing me tonight. He's a cop." The concierge didn't even blink. "You two will be in room 414. Let me get you 2 sets of keys." He leaned forward. "We'll only need 1. This man had put me in the hospital twice and fudged the police reports both times. He threatened to frame me for drug charges if I ever left him, and got his partner to go along with his lies." The concierge ignored him, typed into her computer, then handed me a spa coupon and blocked his hand when he tried to grab it. "That's ladies only, sir." He grinded his teeth as I pocketed it. We reached the elevator. "I need to use the restroom." He grabbed my arm. "Use the one up in the room." I jerked free. I've been holding it in since we landed. He owned me using fear, and if I wasn't courageous now, I'd be dead by morning. Besides, there were too many people around, so he couldn't force me. In the lobby bathroom, I read the bottom of the spa coupon. "Go out through the restaurant kitchen. I'll meet you out back." I read it 3 times because part of me had stopped believing anything could go right, but I had nothing left to lose. I walked out, shoved him out of my way, and took off running. He followed. I cut through the kitchen past confused waiters and bussers. The concierge was waiting at the back door, waving me through. We made it to the alley and started rushing toward her car. Then a door swung open ahead of us, and he was standing right in front of us. He tried to reach for me, but the concierge stepped in his way. "You need to back off, sir." Whack! He hit her so hard she was unconscious before she hit the ground. I quickly grabbed her car keys from her limp hand, ran away, made it to the car, and cranked the engine. An arm crashed through the window and grabbed my throat. I bit a chunk out of his hand and floored it. He was half hanging out of the window, clawing at my face. He was reaching for the keys with one hand and choking me with the other. Then I saw headlights coming straight at us. I thought about every broken bone, every police report with my name on it, and every night I was terrified to fall asleep next to him. I stopped caring what happened to me, swerved directly into the oncoming car, and boom! His body catapulted through the air and landed hard on the asphalt. His spine nearly snapped in half, and he was instantly paralyzed from the neck down. By some miracle, the other driver and I were completely unscathed. I walked over and looked down at him, trembling on the street in a contorted heap. For the first time in 3 years, I actually felt safe. I changed my name and moved to London, just in case his cop buddies wanted to come after me. I handed the hotel concierge a note that read, "My boyfriend is planning on killing me tonight. He's a cop." I yanked my niece out of the pool, and my sister yelled, "What is wrong with you? Let her play." And I said, "Nobody's watching this pool. She could drown and none of you would notice." But she grabbed her daughter back. She'd be screaming and splashing if she was drowning, so I'd hear her. No, a drowning kid can't scream. It's completely silent. But she just put her daughter back in the water and called me paranoid while she walked away. But when I looked at my niece, she was already at the deep end. Then her head tipped back and slipped under the water, and she went quiet. I knew she was drowning, so I screamed to the adults in the deep end, "My niece is drowning. Somebody grab her." But they just looked confused, so I ran for the deep end. But then my sister stepped in front of me. "Stop this! You're embarrassing me in front of everyone. Let me through. She could die." I looked back at my niece, and her body kept sinking straight down. So I lunged past my sister, but she blocked me again. "She's fine. She'd be screaming if she was really drowning." But my niece couldn't make a sound, and I finally had enough. I shoved my sister and dove into the water. I grabbed my niece from the bottom of the pool and pulled her up and out and laid her flat on the deck, but she was limp, and that's when my sister finally realized she was drowning. "Oh my God, she's not moving. Save her." her. I tilted her head back and gave her rescue breaths, but nothing happened. My sister dropped to her knees, sobbing while the yard went silent. I breathed for her again. Nothing. Then she coughed up a mouthful of water and gasped, and everyone exhaled in relief. I held her while my sister crawled over with her hands shaking. She never made any noise. She never called out for help. That's what drowning really looks like. Then my niece looked at her mom. Next time you should listen to Auntie. I yanked my niece out of the pool and my sister yelled, "What is wrong with you?"
Never click the link below, because this is an impossible challenge, unless your IQ is over 100.
I was opening a package I'd ordered online when I saw a note above it that said, "Call this number, please help me," scrawled in what looked like dried blood. My hands started shaking. A stranger helped me once when I had no one, and I never forgot it, so I typed the number into my phone and texted it. My stomach dropped when a reply came through seconds later. They sent an address, 10 minutes from my house, and 3 more words. "Please, come now and save us." My gut told me this was a bad idea, but I drove straight to the address anyway. It led me to a windowless warehouse at the end of an empty road, and when I reached the entrance, a man met me with a wide smile. "Can I help you?" But behind him, I saw a room full of young women hunched over sewing machines, their hands raw and split, dirt smeared across their faces. One girl about my age met my eyes for half a second, then dropped them. "Are they okay? The workers?" I asked, and his smile stayed frozen. "They're fine. Ask her yourself." The girl didn't look up. "Everything's fine," she whispered, flinching as his eyes cut to her. I tried to step past him, but he shifted into the doorway, his smile gone. "Get off my property before you regret it." My heart slammed, but the note was still in my pocket, so before I turned to leave, I texted the number one last time. "I'm here. If you need help, cough." For a second, nothing. Then, from inside, a single cough. My eyes shot to the girl in the apron, coughing again, staring right at me. That was all I needed. I stepped back and called 911, giving them the address low and fast, my eyes never leaving her, but the man caught her looking. "Get back to work, peasant." His face twisted as he grabbed her arm and dragged her further inside. My heart stopped because I just made it worse, so I yelled, "The police are already coming." He froze, and seconds later, sirens screamed around the corner. Officers flooded past me. "Ma'am, step back." They pulled her out as her legs buckled onto a stretcher, and I pushed to her side and shoved the note into her hand. "This might be the only reason any of you get out." She gripped it to her chest. "Most of us never get a note out. We just disappear." I was opening a package I'd ordered online when I saw a note above it that said, "Call this number, please help me," scrawled in what looked like dried blood. My hands started shaking. A stranger helped. I was scanning groceries for a mom and her daughter, but when I read the total out loud, the mom's eyes filled with panic. "Oh my God, prices rose 20%? I nodded, and she opened her empty wallet and started sobbing right there at my register. Her little girl eyed a loaf of bread like she hadn't eaten in days, and the mom grabbed it. "I'm sorry, honey, we have to put it back." I was barely making rent myself, but something made me stop. "Do you have any food stamps?" I asked quietly. Her eyes lit up, and she dug them out of her pocket and handed them to me. They'd expired just yesterday, but I was going to take them anyway. Before I could scan them, my manager snatched them from my hand. "These are expired. We can't take these." He looked the mom up and down with disgust. "If you're broke, you shouldn't be shopping here." He threw them back at her and walked off. The little girl looked up at her mom. "We haven't eaten today. I'm so hungry." I couldn't let it go. The second he was gone, I scanned the stamps anyway, knocking the total down to $20, and I covered the rest myself. The mom grabbed my hands, thanking me over and over like I'd saved her life. But as they packed their groceries, I saw my manager watching me from the corner of the store. The second the family left, my manager stormed over. "Those stamps were expired. That's $200 of the store's money. Pay it back now or you're fired immediately." I opened my wallet. I only had $300 to my name, and rent was due tomorrow. Handing him that $200 meant losing my apartment, but I thought about that little girl crying and paid it anyway. But that sacrifice was the best thing I could have done, because a few weeks later, that same mom walked in with her little girl and set an envelope on my counter. "The day you helped us, we'd lost everything after my husband passed. My daughter and I hadn't eaten in 3 days, and you were the only one who treated us like we mattered." But his life insurance finally came through. Inside was $1,000. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness is the thing that saves a life. I was scanning groceries for a mom and her daughter, but when I read the total out loud, the mom's eyes filled with panic. "Oh my God, prices rose 20%. My phone slipped and cracked on the grocery store tiles. Fuck. I picked it up frustrated, and a small voice behind me immediately copied me. Fuck. I turned and saw a tiny boy in glasses grinning at me. The mother looked shocked, and I felt horrible. I went to apologize, but she lunged to hug me. "My son is 10 and nonverbal. This is the first time he's ever spoken. Thank you." I looked at the boy. His first word was fuck. My phone slipped and cracked on the... My husband barged in while I was about to give birth and instantly started putting cameras everywhere while his lawyer waited outside. I asked him what he was doing, but he just smiled, showing you actions have consequences. And just as I was about to respond, my daughter popped out mixed race while we were both white. How was this possible? I looked over to my bedside expecting him to be angry, but instead, he was literally popping confetti. "I knew you cheated. I knew it." He was like a kid in a candy store. I couldn't believe it. I truly had never cheated. The lawyer served me divorce papers, and they walked out, Norman yelling, "This was the best day of his life." I didn't understand. Why was he so happy? And how was this possible? possible? I went home and started looking for anything to explain what just happened, but then I saw our marriage folder wasn't there. I checked the cameras and saw Norman took it. Why would he do that? I called him immediately and he showed up with his lawyer. I demanded to see the folder, but he shook his head. I pulled up the footage and said, either hand it over or I report you and you explain to a judge why you're stealing your own marriage papers. Norman immediately gave me them. Inside, I saw a brand new clause I'd never seen, added just 3 weeks ago. It said if one of us ever cheated, we owed the other $3 million, aka my whole inheritance. I was horrified, and when I looked at the dotted line, I saw my own signature. I'd never signed this, but Norman was smirking. See you in court. Being a cheater is expensive. I sat there losing my mind. I knew I never cheated, so I decided to get a paternity test. I prayed the baby was somehow Norman's, and this was a gene mutation, but the results came back, and the father was Norman's friend Tyrone. I freaked out. I'd never spoken to Tyrone alone, ever. I called him immediately and explained everything, but he just went completely silent and refused to answer. He hung up without a word. In the courtroom, Norman was already grinning like he won. His lawyer presented the clause, the delivery room footage, and the paternity test, while I had nothing. It was a slam dunk case because from the outside, it really looked like I cheated. The judge went to bang her gavel, but then the doors flew open. Tyrone walked in holding his phone. He had footage from his apartment's security camera. It showed Norman breaking in and stealing Tyrone's medical cooler, filled with Tyrone's IVF sperm samples. Norman's face crumbled. You inseminated your wife with my sperm. That's why the baby is mine. Judge, I'm not paying child support. My jaw dropped as I realized why the baby came out mixed, and the judge immediately ordered a search warrant. They found sedatives and syringes in Norman's belongings, and as he was led away, I whispered, actions have consequences. My husband barged in while I was about to give birth and instantly started putting cameras everywhere while I was in labor, and as soon as I got into my boyfriend Body's car, he said, try not to get baby gunk on the seat. I just had it cleaned. While he was driving me to the hospital, he started playing on his phone, so I grabbed it and saw that he was checking a Pokemon card restock tracker. He had pulled up directions to 5 stores that were on the way to the hospital. Body, I could have this baby in the car, he shrugged. We're literally driving past them. It'll only take a few extra minutes. He pulled into the Target parking lot before I could argue. Breathe like the video showed you. Back in 5. He came back 13 minutes later, grinning, a bag in his hand, insisting everything was fine while I cried in pain. Next, he swung into a Walmart lot with the engine running. Something broke open in me, and I started crying loudly enough that people in the parking lot turned to stare. He looked around at them, then back at me. Can you please stop making a scene? You're embarrassing yourself. He came back 8 minutes later, empty-handed, and actually hit the steering wheel in frustration over missing out on pieces of cardboard while I sat there gripping the door handle and trying not to scream in pain. Please, Body, take me straight to the hospital. The baby is coming. He glanced at his phone one more time. One more stop. GameStop's got the last one in stock. I swear it'll just take 2 minutes. He parked and jogged toward the entrance without looking back. I finally picked up my phone, and I was in so much pain I couldn't even hold it steady while I called my mom. I need you to come get me. I'm in labor and Body keeps stopping at stores. I can't get him to take me to the hospital. She gasped. I'm on my way. My mom pulled into the parking lot not even 5 minutes later and opened my door for me. Let me help you into my car, sweetheart. Body came out of the GameStop and held up a bag. I got the last one. Can you believe it? My mom turned and glared at him. Get away from my daughter or I will run you over in this parking lot. He stood back while my mom helped me into her car. My mom ran 2 lights getting me to the hospital, and my daughter was born less than an hour later. Body showed up 40 minutes after that, GameStop bag still in hand. He didn't even look at our daughter before he held the bag up. I pulled the holographic Charizard. I threw a full cup of water at him. Get out. I was in labor, and as soon as I got into my boyfriend Body's car, I was at a red light when I looked over and saw my dad in the lane next to me, smiling at me through his window like he was about to suggest something illegal. Let's street race, kid. Last one to the pizza shop loses. I didn't want to because dad used to drive F1, but then he leaned his head out. Come on, you've never beaten your old man at anything. I'll give you my Aston Martin for a day, if you do. A devious smile instantly formed on my face, and when the light turned green, I shouted, deal, and immediately floored the accelerator. I cut in front of him and weaved through traffic, checking my mirror and laughing because he was 3 cars back. But then I heard his engine scream. His Mercedes suddenly blew past as he stuck his middle finger out the window towards me, grinning. I watched him swerve around a bus, then around a horde of school children crossing the road. My eyes widened because he was doing 90 in a 60. I saw the pizza shop getting closer in the GPS and realized there was no way I was catching him. The Aston was gone, but then I saw red and blue lights. A cop was pulling dad over while dad angrily muttered to himself. I remember letting off the gas and cruising past dad nice and slow, waving at him while the officer talked to him and wrote on his notepad. I laughed so hard I almost missed my turn. The Aston was mine. I had just come into view of the pizza shop when suddenly my mirror filled with lights. A cop car came flying past me, doing 100 miles per hour, and I realized dad's Mercedes was right behind it. My jaw dropped as I realized dad had talked the cop into giving him a police escort. By the time I parked, dad and the officer were already outside, having a slice of pizza. Dad was laughing at me, and the cop just shrugged. Sorry, kid. Your dad promised me a go of his Aston Martin if I helped him win. I was at a red light when I looked over and saw my dad in the lane next to me, smiling at me through his window like he was about to suggest something.
Who should try modding?
My friend Ava sent me her very first Snapchat, a silly face captioned, "Day 1, thanks for adding me," and by the time our streak hit 289 days, I was terrified of her. She'd never been allowed social media before, but when we started high school, her parents finally gave in. At first, her snaps were sweet sunrise photos, skincare routines with funny filters, and celebrations for every 100-day milestone. By the second semester, she had 200 streaks, some with strangers overseas, and something in her had shifted. She sent me a snap mid-SAT exam, just her grinning next to her answer sheet. Then one from her grandmother's open casket funeral, a dog filter stretched over her grandmother's face. My stomach turned looking at it, but I let it slide. Then she sent a snap mocking a homeless man begging on the corner, captioned with a laughing emoji, and I finally snapped back. "If you're not sending normal snaps, don't send me snaps at all." She replied with a crying filter and a fake apology that didn't feel sincere. A few weeks later, my dad was rushed into emergency surgery, and while I sat in the waiting room, Ava kept snapping me about almost losing our streak. "Can you chill for 1 second? My dad might literally die and you're worried about a streak?" She sent back a snap of her fist, balled tight. "Our 289 days together is stupid to you?" I told her I was done, and she called immediately. "This streak is everything. You can't just abandon me. It's just an app, Ava." I hung up, and an hour later, she sent me a text. "Streaks are proof someone remembers me every single day and that my friends actually like me." I felt guilty, but I still didn't apologize. My dad made it through surgery, and that night, I passed out from exhaustion the second we got home. Around 2 in the morning, my window slid open slowly, and I woke to footsteps crossing my floor, a face lit blue by a phone screen hovering somewhere near my bed. I squeezed my eyes shut and prayed until the footsteps finally left. I stayed frozen until sunrise, too scared to move, and when I finally opened Snapchat, my stomach dropped. A photo sent at 2 a.m. showed Ava grinning, me unconscious in the background of my own room. "Try not to forget our streak next time, you silly goose." I threatened to call the police, and Ava just laughed it off. With what proof? The snap disappears in 10 seconds. She was right. My mom refused to let us move, too consumed with dad's recovery to worry about a silly app incident. Now I send snaps every day to the person who scares me most, and at 892 streak days, I'm only halfway to graduation. My friend Ava sent me her very first Snapchat, a silly. My son's school called me, and the principal's voice was grim. "Come to the school immediately. Your son has been caught stealing other people's food." My hands shook the whole drive over because I'd been packing lunches for him. So why would he steal food when he has plenty at home? I walked into the office and saw my 12-year-old on a chair, gripping a black trash bag I'd never seen. His eyes were on the floor, and the principal took the trash bag before I could say a word. She opened it, and my eyes instantly narrowed because none of this food had been touched. Milk cartons were still sealed, fruit cups had lids on, and sandwiches were wrapped. He took these from the leftover bin. It's where the kids toss their lunch items that they don't finish. Your son's been fishing them out. I was confused and went to ask my son why he was taking food that nobody ate and not even eating it himself. But that's when the principal turned her laptop. A camera showed my 12-year-old hauling the black trash bag across the street to the old building that used to be a food bank before it shut down. I watched my son hand out sandwiches and fruit cups to homeless people, and my eyes started watering. I looked at him and felt so proud. I stood up. "So you're punishing him for feeding people?" But the principal smiled. "No, we didn't call you here because he's in trouble. We called you because he inspired us." My son looked up. "We're opening our own food bank, and we want your son to help us." I smiled, and my son's face lit up. "I'd love to." We took his black trash bag, and the three of us walked to the old building across the street and handed out sandwiches. My son's school called me, and the principal's voice was grim. "Come to the school immediately."
Never click the link below.
My son yelled, "Mom, can I have some spaghetti?" And I
Alright,
instantly
guys,
started making
I
his
have
pot
to-
of bolognese. But then my kitchen window exploded. A man in a ski
See you
mask
guys
was climbing
later.
into my kitchen, and my
That
son's
is
door opened upstairs
100
before I could
story.
react. "Mom, what's that noise?" My heart was pounding, and when I saw the man.
Bye guys. See you maybe tomorrow.